everyone to our episode of Soul Talk this week. We have our first returning guest, my friend Dakota. How you doing this week?
I'm doing fantastic, as best as anyone can right now.
Yep. We this will be airing on a very important day, January 20th. We will have Biden inaugurated and hopefully things will get better for us this 2021 and going onward. Positive thoughts, woosahs, woosahs.
Do a little praying. Just
But to keep everything light and fun today, we're going to go into what we have recently read. So, sh- uh, putting Dakota a little on the spot here, no recent reads, but it's okay. It's okay, Dakota. I love you anyways. So, this past week, I recently read the book called Remote Control by Nnedi Okorafor. And first off, I just want to thank Tor.com and the B2 Weird Book Club on Instagram. There'll be a link for it down below. And that book club is reading sci-fi and fantasy by BIPOC authors. So that is Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And we got the ARC for this book and have been reading it all through January. And it actually, on the day we're recording, January 19th, will be out for purchase. So go check that out. But basically, this book is about a girl who lives in Ghana, and I don't even want to give her name because her name would be a spoiler. Although I think on Goodreads it gives its name, but I think it's better just to jump in and not even knowing what her name is. And it's just she goes through her life in Ghana and there's a tragic event that happens at the very beginning that sets her life on a different course. And she goes through it, and it is very sci-fi. There is the sci-fi elements that are plucked in. It is. I would have given this a 5 out of 5 if it wasn't for the very last sentence of this book. And the last sentence of this book goes, okay, there needs to be a sequel. So if there's a sequel to this book will automatically go back up to a 5 out of 5. It's 4 out of 5 right now for me because it leaves it, it makes gives you that feeling of like, at the end of Inception where the top is spinning and you don't and then it cuts to black and you
oh
don't know
yeah.
if it's still spinning or if it falls over. And I know there's theories about how his ring was actually the token and not the top, but still when you're watching the movie the first time and you haven't watched all those like review things on YouTube, you don't know that and you have a feeling like, wait, what happened? So this book definitely at the very end of it gives you a wait, what happened? But it's still a very interesting read, and I still recommend to read it. A 4 out of 5 is still a very high score. And but I really enjoyed this read. Nnedi's done a great job. This is considered an adult novel, which is interesting that you have an adult novel set with a child that is 14 years old, and that just shows you the themes that it's going to get into is that this is not a young adult novel, this is for adults to read. So I definitely recommend it, and it's out now when this airs, so definitely go check it out, go buy it, go support Black authors. And this is a great sci-fi book. So now we're gonna go into our we're adding back the recent animes this week because both of us are nerds. So
True story.
Dakota, what's the recent anime that you've been watching?
So the recent anime I've been watching has been, and I'm probably mispronouncing this completely, Aron High School Host Club.
Yep, or in High School
Um,
Host Club.
yes, and so I have watched a couple episodes of it. I am still completely lost. I don't even know the characters' names. I just know the small one. I think they call him Honey. I think, and apparently he's like this ninja, like amazing dude who can kick everyone's butt. Um, but it's interesting. It starts off kind of catchy with the main character going into that music room that was abandoned and then finding the host club, which is kind of ironic because I'm a music teacher, so I'm always in the band room, the music room, whatever. Um, but yeah, it's different. I haven't been a huge anime watcher. It's just different, and so yeah.
I thank your significant other for putting you through this because Dakota would not watch this for me, but he'll watch it for his significant other.
Yes. Yes.
So
Um,
I hear that you have questions about what's going on.
yes. Um, so I just don't know the importance of all the well, one, I don't know all the characters' names except for the short one, Honey. And so I don't want to spoil anything for anyone else. You guys go watch it. Maybe you guys can get it faster than me. But like with this being a high school, I guess I'm thinking in a teacher mode. Why are they letting this happen? This host club, like that seems very inappropriate.
Remember,
And
it's
like,
rich kids.
yes, and like, how did it start? Like, how did the leader become the leader? And it's
The
just
leader's name is Tamaki.
Tamaki, okay, and like the twins, like, what is going on there? Like,
And the girl that's dressing up as a boy, that's Haruhi. And
I can't even say that. What is it?
Haruhi.
Haruhi.
Yeah,
Haruhi.
close enough.
Okay. And
And
just
but basically the main thing is that you have this poor girl who, like, a girl with not a lot of money who gets a scholarship to this very prestigious high school that has a bunch of rich people in it. And right before going to school, her freshman year of high school, some a little kid sticks gum in her hair, and so she has to chop all her hair off. So she looks in anime fashion with no hair. She looks like a boy. So she goes in, and everyone mistakes her for a boy. And then in the first episode, which I've talked about this on a recent Soul Talk with Kalandra, so with Callie, so definitely go check that out. But it's funny to see how each character finds out that she's actually a girl.
yes, those
She's a
their
girl.
reactions are hilarious, especially I think you said Tamaki?
Yeah, Tamaki.
Tamaki, especially his reaction is probably the best, the most priceless. Um, but are they still keeping track of Haruke's money for what happened in the first episode? Like, do any of them try and get with her? Is their
Yeah,
relationship
you
at
gotta find out
bust?
and see.
So it's just so many questions. I'm like, what is going
My
on?
my favorite part is how do he throughout the whole time just like these damn rich people. So it's really like these kids are living a life of luxury. They don't know anything about the real world. They don't know anything. And I think it's just funny to like watch like a fish out of water, but it's like a normal everyday human being going into this life of where everyone lives a life of luxury. And these rich kids actually throughout, like you see that they aren't so bad and that they actually have hearts of gold, and then that they learn some things down the road. So I think it's a kind of a hopeful thing for real life when you look
Okay,
at it, that maybe people with a exorbitant amount of money don't turn out to be assholes.
okay. And I will say one thing I've taken away from it. I'm forever calling sushi fancy fish from now on.
But there you go. There you go. And what's the other anime that you've been watching recently?
My significant other also got me watching this. It's called Voltron. Yeah, Legendary Defender, and that one has a lot more action than the Host Club. Um, the basic storyline is there is a outer space like galactic um, training, almost like the army, almost like a different version of Space Force, you could kind of say. Um, and so the characters you meet at the beginning of that, they one of them is really intelligent, named Pidge, and you find out almost like Haruke that
Haruhi.
yeah Haruhi that they all think Pidge is a boy at first, and then you find out otherwise later on. Sorry for the spoiler. Um, and so she picks up a signal. They find this blue lion there, which is one of the, um, the paladins of Voltron, one of their mechanisms. And so it ends up taking them to a new planet, and they meet someone who was pretty much frozen for about 1,000 years or 10,000 years, one of the two, and wherever you put the zero. Um, and they kind of explain everything, and there ends up being five lions. Each uh, has a controller based on their personality. So, like, one of them is very intellectual, nature driven. One of them, it's what I'm like, the one who tends to like food and is the big like teddy bear of the group ish. One who's very erratic in their movements, one who's very arrogant, and then the leader. And it just kind of goes through. They have to protect the universe from evil forces, essentially, and they go to all these weird planets. Um, Eventually, they come to Earth for a little bit towards the end, and there are some little twists and turns in it. But there is some action in it, and it's it's very very good, a good show to watch.
It's one that I haven't checked out, which you would think, even though if you watch the show, you probably only think that I watch shoujo anime because I've talked about Ouran High School Host Club, and then the next anime I'm going to talk about is in the shoujo genre. But I do like shonen and like action and all of those things as well, and that's typically the anime that I gravitate towards. So it's funny that I have not seen this yet. I will say though, if you like Voltron, you might like the anime Tiger and Bunny. So ask your
Tiger and
significant
Bunny.
other if he's seen Tiger and Bunny, and if he hasn't, then you two should watch it together.
Okay, I will ask him. I'm excited. Um, but yeah, it's a good show, and it's kind of cool to figure out which paladin or which character you most relate to. Like I said, the the one I relate to, he's the yellow, and they call him Hunk, which is ironic. And he ends up, when they combine to form the big mega giant band that is very strong, which is called Voltron. He's the left leg of Voltron, and it for some reason, whoever pilots that color lion, every time when they first do it, they're always like, "Oh my god, I'm a leg! This is so cool!" Which would be totally me because I'm weird. But yeah,
Not just a leg, a left leg.
a left leg. Yes, exactly.
But okay, so I guess we'll go into my recent anime, which again, another shoujo. It's Vampire Knight. Now, I have seen this full anime before, and I actually own all 19 volumes of the manga. But I was kind of like looking at my shelf, and for whatever reason, I was like, I kind of want to rewatch this. So I've only rewatched the first episode again because there's things that I forgot about it. I was like, oh, I remember that there's vampires in it, and I remember there's a love triangle. But other than that, I was just like, I don't really remember what happened in this. And like I said in a previous Soul Talk, it goes, the older and older you get, the more and more it's like you forget old things. So when you rewatch them, it's like watching them for the first time again. You're
All
like,
the
oh,
time.
look at this gem. But so the main thing about Vampire Knight is that you have this academy called Cross Academy, so we're bringing in school life again, and you have the day class, which is humans, and then you have the night class, which is vampires. And then the owner of Cross Academy, the reason why he wants to have a day class and a night class, and the night class being full of vampires, is he wants to show that there are good vampires out there, that they're not all bad. And if I remember correctly, which it doesn't reveal in the first episode, but I think he is he was a vampire hunter or was one of those like hunting for bad vampires out there. And then you also get like the main character, which I want to Yuki. That's her name. So Yuki, it shows her like as a young girl in the snow, and like a vampire is about to attack her, and then she gets saved by another vampire named Kaname, and Kaname is part of the night class, and she's part of the day class now. Like they're older. And so, although Kaname looks the same, so I forget if these vampires age or not, but I'm not sure. So I'm like, again, it's like I've seen this whole thing. I own the entire manga. I've read the entire manga. I've seen the entire show. I forget everything about it.
We're getting old, Soul.
Yes. And we haven't even reached 30 yet. But
Right.
but but it's interesting. I think I liked it a lot back then because I was in a vampire phase, even though, like, I will admit, like, when I was in middle school, I enjoyed the Twilight books. I reread them as an adult, and man, are they god awful.
They, they certainly are directed towards the younger audience, that's for sure.
And not only that, but I was just like, I was reading much better literature in middle school, and I still glommed on to those books. So it's really funny, but I think it was just like it was that vampire craze, and I think that was around the time too that I forget exactly when Vampire Night came out. I'm gonna Google that uh, right now, but it was 2005 when the first Twilight book came out, I believe, and so like it was right around that time. And let's see, Vampire Night come out 2008. So yeah, pretty much. It was right around the Twilight time where the vampire craze and everyone was wanting to watch vampire stuff. There's the pictures right there. So
Okay.
that's the love triangle. You got Yuki, and then the one to with the brown hair boy is Kaname, and he's the vampire of the night class. And the night class wears white, and the day class wears black. So kind of like a dueling color scheme there.
Okay.
And that's Zero, and he's a human. And both of them, if I, the one thing I remember of is that both of them have a thing for Yuki. So,
Oh, so it becomes a vampire versus human for her love and affection type thing.
yes,
That's
yes.
intense.
So again, Twilight had a love triangle too. So I guess all
Yeah.
vampire stories need to have a love triangle, apparently. But I'm going to watch this anime to see if I still love it the way that I did when I originally watched it, and I'll let you guys know in a later Soul Talk. Okay, so we're gonna go now into regular TV. So, what recent TV have you been watching?
So, well, last time I was on here, I talked about rewatching shows, and this is kind of the same thing. Um, I just finished earlier this week rewatching Malcolm in the Middle, in which, if you don't know, it's an older show. It has stars like Frankie Muniz. I cannot think of his name, the father. I think it's Brian Cranston, I think.
I think,
And
yeah,
um and ironically, the eldest brother Francis in the show, if you didn't know, he is actually in real life the brother of the guy who plays Hyde on that 70s show, which is pretty cool. Um but it goes through kind of the chaos of this um middle American family, and of course Malcolm is the middle child, so you kind of get to see how the family treats him. You get to see kind of the extravagant life of the married couple life without kids, and then as they add on kids, it slowly goes into chaos, and then they have another kid halfway through, and then at the end three of the five kids are graduated, and the last episode there's another kid that's coming on the way, and it's insane. But it kind of talks about just everyday life with neighbors, how sometimes you have those neighbors that no one in the neighborhood likes, and it kind of comes from their perspective, and it's a good comedy, a good like coming of age thing as well. um I would recommend watching it. It's on Hulu. Like I said, it's hilarious.
I definitely relate more to the mother now than I did when originally watching. Like I'm like, You discipline those kids. You do what you need to. They are acting up. They are acting a fool."
The sad thing is I probably relate more to the dad, who's very flighty and lofty and out there at times. Um and I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but I've also started watching Hell's Kitchen, the newest season. I don't know if I mentioned that as well.
Oh, no, you didn't. Because
Um,
I binged watched the first two or three, like, but this was years ago, seasons of it. So I haven't seen all the seasons, but I was just like, man, I just want to see Gordon Ramsay yelling at people.
That's the whole reason why. And so the newest season on Hulu, they're streaming those episodes. There's 2 episodes in. So I would recommend if you want to see Gordon Ramsay yell at people, that's a perfect show.
And I love the dichotomy too, where like with adults, he's like so rude and yelling and no patience at all. And then you see him do like the stuff with kids, and he's the most patient, gentle, kind-hearted person. And it's really a dichotomy of Gordon Ramsay. Because
Yes.
if you're a
And
child, he will treat you nicely. But I will say that there's a I forget which season. It's 1, 2, or 3. But there is a person in that season that named Robert, I believe, or something along that line, and then like Gordon was kept calling him Bobby over and over again, and kind of like that person went and had a conversation with him and was just like, "Oh, my father went by the nickname Bobby, and he was a really shitty person, and I don't want to be associated with him." And then Gordon Ramsay, from that point on, called him by the name that he wanted to be called. And
okay.
so I think even though you can watch him and be like, "Wow, what an asshole." He actually does deep down have a heart of gold and will like do nice things like that. And if you watch him with children, he's super nice and everything too.
That is awesome. And like this newest season, it takes place in Las Vegas at their location. I think it's Caesar's Castle, which is
Mm.
a really nice place. I've actually seen it live and like in person. I didn't get to eat there because it costs an arm and a leg, but it's it's really cool to see that live and to see know that they're shooting there as well.
If you go to Vegas, I definitely recommend going to like one of the buffets because it could be like $50 or even more. But man, there's so much food that you can actually get your money's worth. So I definitely recommend like if you're in Vegas, go to like I think it was the MGM Grand Hotel. Like we did the buffet there, and I was a little kid, and I was just like in heaven. I was like, look at all of the.
It was I think it was the same one. It was still pricey, but there was everything. It was
Mhm.
insane. And they have some really good food just off of the main strip, like good Korean barbecue and everything that we don't have here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. That
I can get it here in Miami.
but like things like kimchi, like bulgogi, and some other meat that I don't know how to pronounce that you cooked at your table. It's like really cool experience, and just visiting Vegas, I got to experience all of that. It was kind of cool.
Cool, cool, cool. Okay, so we're gonna go into my recent TV watch, which is WandaVision, WandaVision, WandaVision.
That what? Oh, what in the world is going on there?
Have you heard anything about the premise of the show, Dakota? Because I
I
do not want to spoil a single thing for you.
I have not. I've just seen random commercials on Hulu where it the woman she's like, "Let me show you WandaVision," and then it goes into random pictures, and then that's it.
Okay, so this show, there's a lot of speculation because you watch the first 2 episodes and you really don't know what's going on. But the main thing that we do know as an audience is that it's they're going through the decades of sitcom TV. So the first episode, it's Wanda and Vision are kind of like in the Dick Van Dyke and the I Love Lucy uh, things of the 50s. So it's black and white, there's a live studio audience, it's practical effects, things of that nature. There even when there's a moment where there's like a jump cut that kind of like is very indicative of like 50s and 60s style of and then also they had Dick Van Dyke as a oh my gosh, what's the name of sometimes I forget English words, but as a consultant, there we go. Had Dick Van Dyke as a consultant for the first, I think, first two. for sure the first episode. And so they got to really, because the acting that is done in the 50s and 60s is very different to the acting that is done now. It's more over the top. You have more of those gags if you've ever watched any of these old television shows. And then the second episode is set in the 60s. And so that's more of the Bewitched and I Dream a Genie and things of that nature. And so I will say I enjoyed the second episode more, but you really do get caught up in the sitcom of that is going on. So like you forget about the MCU stuff and you're watching the sitcom. Like the first episode, the boss is coming to dinner. And so it's like just a regular sitcom episode. The second episode,
Hmm.
they're putting on a talent show for the children. And so you have this sitcom show and you're forgetting about the MCU and you're just enjoying, you're like, oh, this is so nostalgic of old television. But then there's all these little hints and little things in there that show you, oh, there's other stuff going on. And the next episode is going to be set in the 70s, so it's going to be the Brady Bunch.
Brady Bunch. Oh,
And I don't know if they mentioned what they're referencing in the 80s episode, but in the 90s they're going to be referencing Full House.
okay.
So they're giving, and their first two episodes are in black and white. The next further going on, they're gonna be in color as they go through the decades. So it's really showing just a love letter to old sitcoms as well as being a Marvel show. So
Okay.
I really enjoy it. I think you would like it. It's the one where I had my parents watch the MCU, and both of them enjoyed it, but I could tell my mom was kind of like, "Oh, whatever." And I was like, "Mom, let's watch WandaVision." And I had my mom watch the first two episodes, and she loved it because it was like watching an old sitcom. So and she would even joke, she goes, "Women used to fall asleep with curlers in their hair just so it can look just like that." Like, because my mom, she was born in 1960, so like the second episode, she remembered watching those shows as a little girl, so she remembers those things, and just it's funny that like I'm like, oh, this is the show that you can show your parents who haven't se- who like didn't care that much about the MCU. They can watch this one. Now going forward, who knows how much MCU? I think it's gonna where you have sitcom and MCU. I think it's gonna slowly shift, and then it's gonna be more MCU and less sitcom. So I'll let you guys know how my mom feels about it going forward.
So I have to ask, in the picture that was brought up earlier, Wanda was the girl,
Mm-hmm.
and that weird plastic thing next to her is Vision, right?
Yes. You've seen
Okay.
you've seen the MCU movies, right?
No. I don't
Dakota.
I don't even know what MCU means.
Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh,
You have Disney Plus, right?
I do, yes.
And you've seen Iron Man, right?
I have seen Iron Man, yes.
Have you seen Captain America?
Ye- Half of it.
Have you seen Thor?
No.
Have you seen the Avengers?
Yes.
Okay, you and I are gonna have a Zoom hangout where we're gonna go through the MCU because
Okay.
I tell your significant other we're making you watch the MCU because I'm sure he's seen it.
He
He might not
probably
even
has.
know that you haven't seen it. So now there's video evidence to go.
I'm not here.
Down in the comments, people who are watching, don't give him too hard of a time. We will rectify this, people.
I'm learning, trust me. I have people teaching me all the time. It's okay.
That's too funny. You didn't even know. I was saying MCU, and you're probably like, "What is she talking about?"
I was just thinking like computer program or something. No clue.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, we'll fix this. We'll fix this. All right. Now we're gonna go into our recent movies watch, which You might have seen this movie last week with Ashley, who said hello to you at the end of the episode. But we didn't even know that you were coming on this week too. So it's kind of funny that you're coming in right after, and you've picked the same movie that she did. So let's go
Okay.
into your recent movie.
So the recent movie I've seen is the movie called Soul, Soul, not SOL like Soul.
I say it's me, but the UK version.
um, so this movie, it's by Disney Pixar. It's a good movie. My favorite part about it is how they depict music in real life. Um, if you haven't seen any of the previews, it's about a middle school band director who at the beginning of the movie starts out part-time and then is offered a full-time job, which never happens. It is amazing that happened in this movie. That's like everyone's dream in the music world. Um, and he doesn't really want to be a teacher. He wants to be a performer. A lot of musicians go through this kind of struggle. He wants to be a jazz musician. He gets a big break, has a gig with a famous jazz saxophonist, Dorothea. I cannot remember her last name.
I don't remember it either, but all I
Um,
remember is Dorothea.
yes, it was Dorothea something. I feel so bad. Um, they offer for him to come back and play a gig with him. And he's excited, doesn't look and see where he's going, falls in a manhole, and dies. Okay. And then he gets to see what they call he's going to the great after. He's like, no, I want to.
Dorothea Williams.
Dorothy, thank you, Dorothea Williams. He sees the great after. It's like, no, I can't die. I finally got my dream, and so he somehow gets away and goes to what they call the great before, where you meet all of the souls of the people who are eventually coming to Earth. Um, he meets with a scrappy little soul that they call Soul 22, who during the time Soul 22
Voiced
has
by
had,
Tina Fey. And I love
yes,
it goes, why does she sound like a middle-aged woman? I love
yes. 22 had many famous mentors who eventually gave up on her. Um, and so, in order for the soul to come to Earth, they have to fill up this little badge that kind of talks about their personality and their passion. And they find help from someone, and they get the main character down to his body. They think it turns out he ends up getting in the body of a cat, while Soul 22 accidentally gets in his body, and they go through trying to get him back and get everything rectified. And it's a really good heartfelt movie. It talks about passions and how you may at one point think, oh, my passion might be to perform music on Broadway, but in really your true passion in life may be to teach. There's one example, a barber in there. I cannot remember what he thought his true passion was, but he ended up working at a hair salon, a barber, whatever they call it. I don't know the correct
Barbershop.
word. Barbershop. Thank you. And he does an amazing job. And he was like, I enjoy doing this. It's not what I thought my passion was going to be, but I'm good at this. I enjoy it. I get to meet people. And so it kind of goes that route as well. Um, the thing that I didn't like is just how it ended. You don't know what happens. You see the main character comes back to life and everything, but after that, it just kind of fades away. You don't know what happened to Soul 22. You don't know what happened after he had the realization of his life was good and he should be a teacher. There's a lot of questions. Excuse me. At
So
the
what
end.
you were wanting probably from Soul 22 is like to see a baby's eyes open and then like you just know that it's her.
That or just see where Soul 22 landed. The crazy thing, I've been,
I kind of like that part being open-ended.
yeah,
And I can understand wanting his story to be wrapped up because it's more his story than Soul 22's. But
yeah.
I kind of liked that she went to Earth and she's gonna be okay, kind of thing. And that's she's gonna be born, and that's that. What I really love about this movie is just all of the music. I love the the trombonist. I love the stuff
Yes.
with her. I absolutely love the barbershop scene, and I love first off that it really depicted a black barbershop really well. And then not only that, but at the end goes where the barber is just like, "Oh, we've never talked like this before." And he's been seeing this barber for a very long time and never had a full-on conversation with him, which is if you go to a barbershop, you're having full
Oh
conversations with
yeah.
your barbers, definitely. And so it kinda just shows you too that, like, there's these people in your life that care about you or you care about them, but you don't know anything about them. Kind of it's the person you see at the bus stop every day or the person you see at your barber or that, and you don't know about their lives that well unless you ask, and it's kind of like showing you, like, have conversations with these people and really like showing the humanity of like just getting to know someone. And so I liked that part of the barbershop scene is that like he kind of had that moment of, and that's something he learned from Soul 22. And so I think both Soul 22 and him that they learned from each other going forward and that he took that lesson from her who is not even born yet. She's a soul from the great before. But yeah, I love the music in this. I love too how it depicted like as a musician, just like getting lost in the music, and that's where you're going into the soul world when you're getting lost in, and that is not just music that can get you there. It could be any type of passion that you have, and I love. I've been messing with this team forever, the Knicks, and like that part, like
Yes.
just as a sports fan, that was hilarious. But so it I find it funny but not surprising that both of my music friends here, you and Ashley both picked this movie as a recent watch. You as a band director, Ashley as also she's teaching elementary music.
Mhm.
Yeah, she used to teach chorus, now she's teaching elementary music, but she's a saxophone player. I
Yeah.
always found it funny when she was teaching chorus, I was like, "You cannot hold a tune unless it's with your instrument. You cannot hold it when you sing, yet you're teaching children to sing." She's like, "Well, I could read music and I know what it's supposed to sound like."
That's what my poor students. I'll play something. We'll sight read, and I'll start singing. And I'll go, "Why are you singing? It doesn't sound anything like that." I'm like, "Yes, but I'm trying. I can get close. That's all that
Yeah,
matters."
that's why we always joke as band kids, like, except for those who cross over, which I did chorus as well, but those who don't cross over, they're like, "We're in band for a reason, we can't sing."
Yeah.
For me, I can hold a pitch, but I need someone to match pitch to.
Mhm.
So as long as someone is there with me singing the note, I can match to it and like I can have that match pitch and I can sound good singing and like I can sing along to the radio because I'm singing along to that pitch. But it asked me to do it myself and I'm like, I'll go pick up my clarinet.
Yep. And I think also the again with the whole music depictions in this movie is amazing. If you have never been into a middle school band room, especially at the beginning of a school year, especially at the beginning of or any part of a school year when COVID-19 is a thing, the very beginning when it shows him in the middle school band room, it is spot on. That is the life every band director, no matter how good or how bad you may think they are, that is the life they lead. And the speech he gives at the beginning to the trombone player, who, when you're watching the slides, every slide,
Mhm.
every fingering is exactly matches the pitch. But every band director I know, every orchestra director, even every choir director has gave that pitch that he gives at the beginning to their students at least once or twice a year. And the entrance theme with the bands playing it and really out of
I
tune.
was I was just like,
Oh,
"Ow, this hurts."
that
And then I was like, "Oh, I realize what's happening." 'Cause
yes.
I think about it now too, like, you and I both are proficient in our instruments. You who teaches, music, and then, like, me who's just done band since I was 11 years old and even have done community bands here in Miami. So I've just continuously have played both clarinet and then march baritone because you dared me to. But I was just like, it took me back to how horrible me and the rest of my classmates must have sounded in sixth grade when we were first learning our instrument. And that's something that, like, these band directors who absolutely love music has to suffer through such bad sounding music for probably a good while until the kids get it.
Hmm. So just hearing that beginning product, and then imagine yourself as a parent, and then hearing the end product and think, oh my God, that sounds amazing. It kind of gives people a light of the respect that band directors and orchestra directors and choral directors have to make the ensemble sound good. And it's just fantastic. I actually joked with my colleagues that, yeah, in my elementary concerts, instead of doing the play your horrible sound for this is what we sound like, we're just going to take that from soul, and that we're going to play that as our bad sound piece.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I always find if it's every single middle school concert, every sixth grade band at the first concert for Christmas goes, this is what we sounded like at the beginning of the year. And I'm like, and then it was like, and this is what we sound like now. Every single one. When I was in sixth grade, anytime I've gone to Ashley as like stuff in Bowling Green, your stuff in Bowling Green, like because I have so many music ed friends who are now teachers, and anytime I've gone to their stuff, and like I've even now seen it in chorus too. This is what we sounded like at the beginning, and then they have the kids just like yell like
Or singing in the most country way possible. Like what our choir teacher says, they're not singing, they're singing.
Yeah, no, I was like, this must be like a band thing across the board.
Yeah.
It's just
Oh
like
Lord.
it's always this is what we sounded like at the beginning of the year.
And,
I was like,
and,
here we go again.
in orchestra world, it's always funny because I do that with them, and you hear all these like high pitched screeching noises,
Ugh.
and although you see all the parents kind of cringe a
No,
little bit.
wake up the parents before the real music starts, right?
Yes, yes. We wake them up, and then for the orchestra land, I teach my kids something called the ant song, which they sing a lovely song to. That is the I tell my kids to play it so much they annoy their parents, and every parent again cringes because they're like, "Oh, I've heard this a million times." So, but
At
so
least they're listening to you.
exactly, but no, Soul is a good movie. Like I said, the most disappointing part to me was the end. I'm hoping they'll pull out a second one and maybe resolve some things. Maybe just talk about 22's life.
I'm gonna disagree with you here because I like that it ended and I don't want a sequel, but we'll agree to disagree.
True, true.
Alright, we'll go into my recent movie, and this movie, I'm watching it more because I'm currently now one of the new hosts on the Ultimate Schmodown show, and we've started this new gimmick at the end where I have them answering movie questions at the very end, and I give them 5 questions, and I was like, "Okay, I have a bank from when I was helping, make movie questions for John Roca, who's a competitor in the movie Trivia Schmodown." I was like, but that's gonna run out, and I need new stuff, so I was like, "I'll tackle comedy movies today." So I watched Superbad today,
Okay, that's a
and
good one.
what's funny too is I forgot, like, there's moments in this I was watching it at work on my phone, and probably no one could see it, but there's moments in this movie, like, when he's picking the magazine and there's boobs, or, like, he's, like, behind Emma Stone, like, pretending to jack off or whatever, and I would have to turn my phone down and just listen to the audio because I was like, "Just in case I don't want anyone at work to come around and just be like, 'What are you watching?'" But it's just a funny movie. It's very coming of age. I will say that Booksmart is the super bad of this generation now of like the Gen Zers, because you and I are both millennials. So
Yeah.
super bad was kind of like R, and I guess maybe like R Revenge of the Nerds or something along that. I don't know what to compare it
Yeah,
to
I
back
don't
then.
know here.
I'm not sure, but and so what's I find funny is that you have Hill in Superbad, and then you have his little sister who's in
Oh,
Booksmart, kind of doing a very similar movie, but just two females instead of two guys. So, but this movie is very funny. It's funny to revisit it. Like all of the jokes in it, like I'm cracking up all the time. The fact that one character gets a fake ID and only has one name on it, McLovin,
yeah.
and then that it works. But the other two characters, Jonah Hill's and Michael Cera's characters, I'm already forgetting their name. It's Jonah Hill and Michael Cera are over. Like they go chase another girl to go like look at her boobs, and as they come back, the cops are there because someone had robbed the liquor store, but they think that it's McLovin who got caught and is going to jail, so they go roundabout way. Whereas if they just stayed there a little bit more, they would have had the alcohol for the party that they needed already. But because, again, there wouldn't have been a movie if they did that, so they had to go a roundabout way, and just everything that they went through that night just to get some alcohol for a party to impress the girls that they were into. It's just so funny. And I definitely recommend it. It is one of those, like, if you need a good laugh, definitely watch that, and then right after go watch Booksmart.
Yes, those are both good. Just that shenanigans movie. I kind of want to see now with all these states legalizing marijuana instead of alcohol, them getting marijuana instead, and
Mhm.
seeing how that might play out. I'd be kind of interested to see that.
I mean, we see drugs in Booksmart. And but yeah, I can definitely see that there might be some more like weed movies, which like those are funny. Like I enjoy both Harold and Kumar's.
Yes.
Though I think there's a third one. I have not seen it, if there is a third one. But all those stoner movies, those are fun to watch as well. But just watching people just either getting really stoned or really drunk, just making a fool of themselves in movies, those are always a fun time. Like The Hangover. The fact that they got so drunk that they left their friend on a roof and then forgot about it.
I would be the friend that would be left on the roof.
I wouldn't leave you, Dakota. But we're gonna go into our anything extra. I don't have anything extra today, but Dakota has a few things. So, Dakota, what's your anything extra?
So the last time I was on here, I talked about some games. Um, I'm continuing to still play Overwatch, and this new meta that it's in is a little frustrating. They've nerfed a couple characters, they've put buffs on some support characters. It's kind of frustrating, but I'm also not very good at it, so that might be why too. Um, and I started streaming with these game, the Overwatch and the other game I'm about to talk about. I've started streaming on Twitch. Um, Will.com is the name of the Twitch. A
And it'll
couple
be down in the link below if you guys want to go check him out.
a couple of my friends play with me as well. We have a good time. Sometimes we rage at the people on our team, especially if we get a random and they completely mess everything up. Gamers know what I'm talking about when that happens. It is frustrating. Um, I've also been streaming a horror game called Dead by Daylight. A lot of you guys may have um, heard of it. If you haven't, the whole premise of this game is you can either play as a survivor or you can play as a killer. If you're a survivor, there are four of you. You have to um, repair 5 generators without getting killed. And once you repair 5 generators, you open up one of two escape doors and you get away. If you're the killer, you have to find the four survivors. You have to pretty much attack them or whatever your special ability is. Eventually, knock them down, put them on a hook, and after you hook them 3 times, two if they struggle at the beginning to try and get off the hook. Um,
I'm guessing you play more as the killer, don't you?
it depends if I'm alone or not.
Huh.
And so if they run out of life on the hook, then something called the entity comes and takes them away, and you're just dead. Um, if I'm with some people playing, you have to play as a group as survivor. You can't play like one person killer unless you do a custom match. Um, and so I've been playing mostly survivor when I have friends. When I'm by myself, I've been playing killer, which is fun. Um, they have all types of killers. They have the original ones, like there's one called the Hag, who she goes around and puts traps up. There's one called the Doctor, who makes everyone go insane. Um, there's the recent one is called the Twins, and you're this woman who has like a little baby on your front, and you can send the baby out to go attack people, and you can find where they are. It's really creepy. Um, I don't really play as her often. And then you have some familiar characters, like you have Ghostface, which I haven't unlocked that one yet. But you have Michael Myers, which you can stalk people and kill them, which is pretty fun. Um, you have the Pig, which is from the Saw movies. And what's really cool is once you down someone, you can put the reverse bear trap on their head. And they have to do some of those like traps where you put your hand in and you have to unlock something to unlock it. Um, and what was the newest one that I unlocked? There's Freddy Krueger. Um, there was another one I unlocked. It was really cool. But they all have special abilities, the killers, and it's kind of fun to chase around people and to just go after them. It's the perfect game for me. I love horror games, and I oh
You will not catch me playing this game. I do not like horror.
the
Although, like,
the
I might play
executioner.
as I might play as a killer. Like, if you ever forced me to play this game, I think I might play as a killer because I do not want to be like that. I'm the survivor and I have to survive this awful thing. I'd play it. I think it'd be less scary to play as the killer.
It really is. The executioner is the other killer, which is he is that pyramid head dude from Silent Hill.
See, I don't know most of these. I know like Michael Myers and like that because they're just culture references, but I don't know any of the like most of them because I don't watch horror
Oh,
movies.
I love it. And like, so if you're a survivor and you're working on a generator and the killer gets near you, you hear a heartbeat sound, and if the heartbeat gets faster, that means they're closer. And again, there's some killers that they can crouch and you can't hear the heartbeat, and they just show up behind you and stab you and chase you. It's a grot Tim is one of my coworkers say. It's fun, so fun. Um, so yeah, like game wise, that's pretty much what I've been playing and what I've been streaming, which has been pretty fun. Um, oh, go on.
I was gonna say, goes, yeah, I know that you have another anything extra. Last time we talked about your new role in government that you have. What's the name of the city?
Plum Springs.
Plum Springs. So that you have started now. You have been inaugurated into your position, and you have started your position. So how has that been going for you?
It's been pretty smooth. I've gotten warm welcomes from the mayor of Plum Springs and the city commissioners, and even the last city commissioner who was there. She wished me the best of luck. Um, it's been eye opening. It's which. If you don't know Plum Springs, it's just a really small city right outside of Bowling Green. It kind of like bumps up against Bowling Green, Kentucky. Um, even in a small city, there's a lot more drama in politics than I would even think about. Um, and then a lot more drama between the cities as well that
Mm,
we're trying to work out, which Bowling Green, they had their last mayor. He started some things and then didn't run for reelection this year, so they have a new mayor, and we're trying to negotiate him and with them the mayor of the Warren County area that isn't in a city, and it's a lot of
Unincorporated.
yeah, that's the word. Thank you.
You're
Um,
welcome.
and so doing that, and then a lot of petty squabbles. We had to have about a 20-minute conversation on whether or not we should have an ordinance about roosters in your backyard. I kid you not. It's Kentucky. You have to expect it, but um, it's like I said, it's been welcoming but eye opening. Um, and one thing I do want to say along those lines, if you are anybody like me who like the government, something is going on and we need some change, start at your local governments. There's a lot of change that people can do there, and a lot of races that you can just enter. And even as a normal human being, normal person, you can, I don't know why I said human being. Um, just as a normal everyday citizen, you can get in and you can bring a different perspective that may not have been there for years. And so that's kind of what I'm bringing into this role, because the others have been there for a while. Um, and just start at the local government, and if you want to make change, start that way. So
And how has stuff been with your colleagues? How is trying to enact change in things, especially in Kentucky?
as of right now, I haven't been able to talk a whole lot about what I've wanted to. We have a big kind of overarching thing over our heads that the entire county has been working on, planning and zoning issues that we're trying to figure out first. Because without this, then a lot of things would kind of collapse.
Mm.
Um, so we're trying to mitigate the disasters that previous cities' mayors have tried to create.
That happens a lot in politics, where you have to fix what the previous person has done.
Yes. So hopefully, once we can reach an agreement, hopefully then some other changes will happen. And like I said, I feel like that with a new voice, the other commissioners, I feel like they're willing to step in. I'm the young one, and so I was already told technology wise they're going to come to me to fix anything or to do anything technology wise, because they just know how to type a Word document and that's it, and send an email. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I know how to make the Zoom meetings, the Google Meets, everything. So
I know earlier we were calling ourselves old, but to them, you're the youngin'.
yep, it's insane. It is crazy, but it's going to be a good learning experience, and I'm glad that I went for it.
I'm really
And
happy you went for it as well. I think it's cool that the thing is, all of us talk about change, but a lot of times people talk about change and then they don't do anything about it. And the fact that you were like, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to run for this position and I'm going to see what I can get my hands dirty with. And so I really admire you for that, Dakota.
thank you, I appreciate that. And and like I said earlier, I would I encourage anyone at your local levels to take up office, to try and run, even if you don't win the first time. If you want to change something about our government, jump in.
There you go. You heard it. No better way to end this episode of Soul Talk. So, Dakota, where can the people find you other than at Compton for Kentucky 2022 down there?
So other than the Compton for Kentucky 2022 Twitch, you can find my stream, um, the Twitch stream, which my name is will.com, WILL, then DAK, then COM. Very original, I know. Um, and you can find me on Facebook. Just search Dakota Compton. You'll see a lovely picture of me wearing a red shirt, T-posing in front of my orchestra. Um, you can follow me on there. You can follow the posts I post on there. Um, when I get a website up, I'll be sure to share it with you, Soul, to send out. I'm working on one of
Definitely.
those as well. And just just follow the news, I guess. I'll eventually be in the news for something. Hopefully,
Hopefully for good
will
things.
change. Yes, exactly. But I know at least you could find information about me teaching at my schools and all of that good stuff as well.
Cool, cool. And you can find me at SoulGovin on Twitter, at soul.k.govin on Instagram. You can find me here every Wednesday for Soul Talk. You can find me here on the Media Sweaties Network YouTube channel. Also on, I believe we're moving it to Saturdays, but this week it will still be on Sunday for Get Sweaty. So go check that out. And goodbye, everyone. Thank you for coming.